off. Let's see how fast it takes for this thing to whatever.
I don't know how to play Zoe.
Give it.
Really not direct side either.
Alright, reroll.
What's spec? I'm not good at NASA's either.
Dude.
I'm not gonna want to see that.
Okay, alright.
Want him, you can have him, but
I don't want him. Oh, I'll take a Malphite though. Yeah.
I was thinking Heimer maybe.
Yeah, just go Heimer.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go full AP.
Alright. I believe that's fine.
Alright. Stream is up. Let's check out the quality. Yep, it's at 1080. 60 frames. Perfecto. Oh shit, yep. Time for perfecto. Alright, time to turn on the zoom hack if they will let me. Jesus Christ. Just stop, please. No, stop. Jesus Christ. Oh my God. I know what to do. Sit down in your thinking chair and think. It's just black. Oh shit. How did that happen? There we go. Alright. Zoom hack commencing. Alright, so we should not die until 6. Okay. Minions can go fuck themselves. No pots. Bitch. Oh shit, yeah, I'm Malphite. Oh shit, I fucked up my hotkeys. Quick ass, oh, boom. Somebody said, yeah. Hello. I'm gonna have to wait on this. I'm sorry. 50 gold. I gotta wait.
You're back in, but what?
What? Almost level 6. Well, halfway there. Worth. Kind of. Oh wait. Yep. Saved your life, Zoe. Ooh. Oh yeah, nice. Oh, come on, tower. Oh, here. Oh, it's not. Fuck off. You know we have a heal right here, guys. Jesus Christ. Yep, he's dead. Alright. Oh, wrong person. Nice. That's okay. I will come back stronger. Yeah.
Smaller than the diagram.
All in 5.
It's smaller than the
Oh
diagram.
shit. Come on, guys. Come on, guys. Oh shit. Get whiffed. Okay, bitch. Do you even know? Damn. Come here. Let's go. Thank you for helping, guys. Mm. I am a common.
It's smaller than the diagram.
Oh wow. I got blocked. My ult got blocked by the tornado. Focus the Akali. Focus the Akali. There we go. And then run. It's like Garen's in the call, he knows. Yeah, bro, thanks for everything. You're awesome. Thank you, man. No, thank you. The fans, I love them. What's going on? The tower's fine. All is ready. I understand. We're gonna protect the fucking tower. Who flashed? Must have been Zoe, right? Oh yeah, that did damage. Ooh. Okay, that's all me though. Oh, you dead? You motherfucker. Why is there... I'm coming, I'm coming.
Sorry. It's going okay. We got Heimer. Shouldn't be that bad.
Can you auto... Okay, that's fine. Janna shows up, last second shields. That's alright.
It's not like the speaker. You're still on.
Hey, if someone's watching a stream, make sure to give it a like and comment, please. Because I know someone is, but I don't know who. So then I need... Oh no, I don't need. So now time for the Damagios. There we go. I'm coming.
It's smaller than the diagram.
How'd that miss? Mm-hmm. Piece of shit, Zoe. Where are you going? I don't care. Oh, I got executed. Oh, they're dead. I'm just gonna go over here. Oh, you're dead? Oh, hey.
Huh.
Sorry, bro.
Hey, 300 more gold.
Should help him, right? Let's do it. Let's go. Oh, shit. Video comes out. I think I might know why. Hang on, let me see. You're right, you're right. Hang on. Nope, that's not it. Audio. Ah. I can't change it right now, bro. Shit. I'm gonna stop the stream. Well, I should be back online now. Let me know if this fixes it. Can you, is it working now? Hello, hello. Not you. Can you, is it working now? Oh, it's not. Okay. So, all right. Let's tinker. Hello, hello. Not you. Oh, it's not. Okay. So, all right. It looks like it's working now. Yeah, it's fine now. All right. It looks like it's working now. It's fine, right?
Oh, no, no.
Yeah, it's fine now.
Well, maybe that.
What?
That's weird. She's not in a game or anything, but look, her thing says
I
in
know.
game.
So she has to log off.
So, yeah, that's what she's doing now.
Trick Zen I. Trick I 3G. Are you sure it's working fine now? Yeah, it's fine. Okay, perfect. Yeah, there was a setting I changed earlier. That was the cause. So let me see if, because my Chromebook's about to die, so let me start charging it now so I can keep seeing your comments. Okay, man? All right, hang on. I got the charger. It's at 1%. Oh fuck. Don't die. Don't die. Please. I love you. Oh, shit. Oh, shit. Oh, shit. Oh, shit. Oh, shit. Come on. Is this. It better be. Yes. Yes. It's charging. It is charging. Alright. I sat on my headphones. Okay, that's not nice. And it's alright. It felt fine. Okay. Let's do live. Just make sure to you know give the video a like, and you know comment. Okay. All right. Just give it a like. Oh, he's not. I don't think he's watching. She. All right. Well, thank you, Trick 1G Gang Gang. All right. Oh no, he's back. Welcome. So she logging back in? Oh, I'll invite her. Is not eligible. Why is she creating it? Why can't we join her game? Tell her to leave your game. Did she really just start a game by herself? Hey, are you ready?
Hey, I saw you creating a normal game though. I don't know. We'll see what happens when you get back.
The reason I don't stream on Twitch is because I don't have the subscribers, etc. I can stream on Twitch, but I don't think I have a following on Twitch. Do you think I should? Because I can. There's like a 5-second delay, so for me reading your comments. Oh, okay. I wasn't in one. Lol keeps saying y'all are in game too. We aren't. Bro, it literally says she's okay. Here, let's try joining hers. You're right. You're right. Everything needs to start. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, because the people that want. Oh, there we go. Okay, fix it. Hey, Viv. You want me to fix the microphone now? All right. If you're listening, are you listening? Type it out. Yes. Okay. So click the voice thing. The voice, like the microphone thing on the bottom right. And then right next to, it should be like a little setting thing right next to your name. Okay. Jesus Christ. Okay, hang on. Pause, please. Click that. All right. And then input device. What microphone are you using? No, not that one. Please, not that one. Okay. Try the different inputs. Okay.
Yep.
Try another one.
Yep.
Say something. Say something real quick.
Nope. Hey, why don't
Okay.
you just take this headset and I'll just run off my laptop? It works kind of okay.
Yeah, just use the webcam.
No, here.
Next step, Vivian, if you're still listening, right click on the bottom where it's, like where it says speakers and shit. Looks familiar. Where I am from. So the question is, where are you from? I'm from MPGH as well as Lebanon. I'm from Lebanon. I don't know if that's what you're talking about. I actually also have a Twitch account, but I haven't streamed in a bit. So what's going on now? I'm guessing this guy's okay. Hey, Vivian, don't do that. Hey, no. Fucking Christ, dude. So what makes sense? Where do you know me from?
Hello.
Tunisia. Yeah, well, I still don't see the reference. I'm from Lebanon, so.
Alright. What's up?
Oh my God.
Is it still staticky? Hold on.
Okay, yeah, no, hang on before you leave. Just listen to me, okay? If you give her your headset, her default device is not correct. So, you go down to where the you change the volume on the bottom right on the desktop, right? Right click it. Open sound settings. Okay? All right. And then for your choose your input device, pick the one that take out the headphones first off and then plug back in. You'll see it show up as input device. Okay. Well, thank you, Trick I3G. It's hard. I'm just gonna call you Trick. So we're pretty much brothers. All right. Appreciate it. Oh God. Okay, come on. There's this. I think what's happening is, one, did you give her your headset? Tamale, for fuck's sake. Trick, do you speak Arabic? Okay, yes, he did. Okay, perfect. All right. And so, did you, okay, click the little like speaker volume thing. Trick. All right. And then select, okay, so right click the volume thing, open sound settings. Okay, let me know when you did that. Just type it in. Oh yeah, there you go. So did you do my method that I told you?
Yes, it worked.
All right, there you go. See? Now you know how to do it. It was just not the default. You were picking like a...
No, she had to do it in League 2.
Yeah, I know that too. Okay.
Anyway,
All right, we're good.
I don't know.
Yeah.
All right, let's go. Vivi. Wait, how should I say your name?
It's Vivica.
Vivica.
But yeah, VV's fine.
Vivi. Tamale, is that your girlfriend? Or is that a very, very bad question?
It's a roommate.
Okay. So,
Best friend.
Vivi, you're his baby. No, I'm joking. All right, let's go. Is she also Hispanic? Obviously not, because you guys are just roommates.
What does it mean we could? I can't. So one Hispanic can't have a Hispanic roommate?
No, he can. I'm just saying her voice sounds somewhat Asian.
My voice sounds somewhat... No.
Well, when you said that, I kind of did. Yeah, Tamale? Are you okay with... Oh, okay. Yeah. Are you okay with clicking the sound setting for you and then put the voice activation threshold like to 65?
That's actually what it's at.
Alright, put it to 75.
75.
Yeah. Oh, you want Vi? Tamal guy?
Yay. On that note, I need an outfit for her. Which one?
What?
I need an outfit for her. Which one?
I don't care.
Well,
Alright, here, I'll pick.
okay. Thanks. Thanks a bunch. That's cool.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah. Trick, I don't see you commenting on the not in the chat, Trick, okay? Not in the chat. Scroll down a bit and there should be like comments. You know what I mean? Just comment something. Be like, "Hey, I love this guy." Blah blah blah.
Oh, I forgot you're streaming.
Yeah, I've been streaming.
Oh.
Well, now it shall begin. I'm gonna stop it and then do it again. Uh-oh. Watch out for R. Kelly. That's all I gotta
Why?
say. You guys know that's the closet. Oh no, it's a Weird Al Yankovic thing, I think.
Well, I mean, he did have a series of songs about
Yeah.
being in the closet.
About being, I love Weird Al Yankovic.
No, R. Kelly.
Exactly, but have you not seen the parodies from Weird Al Yankovic?
Oh yeah. He always does amazing parodies.
Dude, the stopped in the drive-through, or like the drive-through one. Have you seen that one?
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Wait, hold on. No, wait. Not the drive-through one. I've heard a bunch of his stuff though.
Dude, okay. You're gonna have to, you know.
I'll have to pull up YouTube in a minute.
Yeah, in a minute. Okay, a few minutes, not right now. When you die.
So there's someone in for sure.
Oh shit, I should probably help you guys. Who died? Oh, okay, not one of you. Let's go, let's go, let's go. Ah, it's alright, Drake. Oh my. Fuck off me. Uh-oh. Oh, that was a terrible decision.
Yeah, just because no one else was there.
Yeah, and we're, you know. Annie. Vivi, are you okay? Are you okay, Vivi? Uh-oh. What's going on? What's going on, Vivi? You got a stun? Do you not see what happened right there?
My bad.
Yeah, it's all good. It's all good. I'll give you like 5 passes. Thank you, man. Thank you, Jake. Sorry, I'm talking to this guy named Trick who's watching this stream. Alright. Here we go. Oh shit. Oh yeah, that hurt Ash. Psych. Psych. Oh, kill.
Oh my god, I didn't flash.
Okay. Or someone in the bush, maybe 2. There's definitely a guy right there. I'm just saying. Protect only the teammates in the chat. That's all I'm saying. I need some mana. Can someone... Ash, can you throw that shit at me, please?
I can do it in like 10 seconds.
Oh, they're no, watch out. Like, he's playing something. Yeah, they're trying to... Yeah, they're trying to go in. Alright.
Actually, wait, I'm about to lash here. 10 seconds.
Oh, yeah. Oh, come on, Annie. Vivi, are you okay?
Is she okay?
Why did I use it? I mean, it's tanks versus whatever this is. Oh yeah, that hurt, bitch. Come at me. Oh yeah, that hurt, bitch. I'm missing everything. Bitch. Yeah, I'm down. If you're in NA, right? Are you alright with TFT? Oh, let's get some health, because Warwick's head's on my head. Alright, Vivi. I see how it is. Might have to get some armor pen. Okay. Okay, thank you, thank you. It's okay. Switch, switch. Oh shit. Thank you. That was great.
Man, I don't remember how to use my stickers.
Uh-oh. Hey, 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 health. Phoebe, run. Oh shit. Bitch, don't touch her. Oh, we're all dead here. It's okay. 2.6k. Hmm.
Get paid and get out.
Yeah, I fucked that up. It wouldn't flash, I got stunned, and I couldn't do nothing.
Yep.
Oh shit, is that close to the tower?
And yep. It's calculated though because I need that to get no wait.
I need like 50 more gold.
Get this man some gold. Coming. Run. Oh, he's going in. Right there.
Damn it, that didn't give you it.
I got it.
Oh, okay, good.
It did, but you know, it was like 4. 4
Right, right.
like 20 shield. But it's all right, cuz I got that bitch. You got an assist. Let's do this. Let's go lethality. Then yeah, I'll like this. What? Okay, where'd they go? Dead. They died. Damn it.
Laws or whatever works at the time.
You got him.
Yeah, I can't believe that. Careful. I want to do something too. Look at my health though. It's almost as bad as yours.
Come on, guys. Pussies. Pussies. There we go. Just, oh, your Tibbers is out. Oh, come on. Good job. Good job, dumpster butts. Sorry. All those messages got deleted because there's a bot apparently. And I'll disable it. Sorry about that.
The only thing I look up to is the sky.
I put a piece in a furnace and it throws the darn thing solid. Tell that ghost to stop interfering with my research.
He's so stupid. Come on, come on. Easy kills. Easy kills. Easy kills. Alright, that should be enough. Boom. Dust Blade. I actually might disable the bot. Hang on. Remove moderator. There we go.
I'll dig more of those up.
I've got values. They stack up nicely.
Or Piltover
Oh, okay. Hmm. Of course. Oh, he's dead. Hmm.
Nice try.
Do you guys see that? Oh, that was so fucking funny.
Honor is the rust of a gold
Oh.
Yes, I'm going to. That's how much I just don't care.
Aw. Oh. Yeah, he's not surviving this. He's gonna do it again. Finally. Oh no, a J4. How would you guys allow him to die? Who did she ult? Wow, that was gay. It's okay. No, I had 3K. Calm down, please. I'm a coming. 3, 2, 1. No, why would you? So 3, 2, 1, and then. Don't go all willy-nilly. Use that W. Use that W. And then wait for Tibbers. Stun. Stun when there's like 3 of them. Okay. Wait for the Tibbers ult when there's like when they're like right here attacking. More than at least minimum 2 people. Oh, look at that. Walk up, walk up. Let's go. Come on, guys. Vivian. Tibbers. Tibbers. Should always use Tibbers when you have stun. I'm just saying. I love you.
Yeah, I know. The first time I fucking accidentally threw my fireball instead.
It's all good. I'm just
Then
saying.
I had to get it back up.
It's all good. It's not all good, but it's all good. I'm joking. It's fine. Alright, just defend the tower. Please, just defend the tower.
No tower.
Okay, just what is he doing? Come on, you're Veigar. Let's go. Alright, here we go. Here we go.
Minions too.
That's how you do it.
Minions just really
That's how you do it. Save Tibbers for when, you know. Like right now is fine. And start just like spamming your thing. Get all that stun. Get ready for Tibbs. And Tibbs is out. Oh, okay. That's pretty funny.
Take your time.
Jesus. Alright, here we go. I am Cindy, man. Wait for me, please, for the love of God. Come on, guys. Go, go, charge, charge, charge. What does charge mean to you guys? I want to know.
All in.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, nope, not staying for that one. Oh, that was close. GG. Not my fault. Actually, oh, this Vi, this really good Vi.
uh-huh.
What happened?
All kinds of things.
All kinds of things. This is pretty funny.
Hello, CC.
CC, I guess, yeah. Do you guys want to play some TFT?
Yeah, I'm down.
Are you guys good at TFT?
Yeah, I'm alright at it.
Alright. I guess we'll see. Alright. Hello. Oh, what the fuck is this?
What the heck am I gonna pick?
Yeah. Alright, I'm gonna just win. Is that alright with you guys?
We'll
Let's try to get all top 4, okay?
Voice.
definitely.
Best you can.
Yeah, sorry, Tamale. Waiting till the next Riot game release. Okay. This guy wrote eating. That's a funny trick. It's okay. I'm not laughing at you. I am, but you know.
I am the stone beneath your feet.
Sorry, Malls. You fucking suck. Ahar. Right? That's how that goes, right? Yeah. It's okay. It's okay. It's okay. It went from no, you misspelled it and then you're saying it's autocorrect. That's what you're saying. Okay.
This is a waste of my time.
Damn, I should turn off my it's not even like needed MSI afterburner. My computer can handle it easy, like it's not really a point to it. Oh, thank you, Jesus. Okay. Ah, shiitake mushrooms.
A draining exercise.
Yeah, I'm trying to hit just plat. I mean, I was gold 1. I hit plat. Actually, I got plat 3, and then it was like a few days of just bad play that resulted in ending in gold. But I've grinded from iron 4 all the way now to gold 3, so, or gold 4, whatever. Don't question my methods.
The thunder calls. There is no retreat.
Uh-oh. Nasus, you can't do it. It's okay, I want to lose.
My sting.
Oh. Uh-oh.
Though many try.
Wonderful.
Oh, yes. Saturn, Ezreal, hello.
No luck. All skill.
Is that a fucking other?
None can hide.
Though many try.
I won one. I mean, that's good.
Lost my first one.
VV, me and you're picking. Oh, I should have went for the Kindred. I'm retarded. I need to use the restroom. Mucho bad. Yep, I'm gonna use the restroom. Wait. Yep, I'm gonna use the restroom after this. I'm Woody, I'm recording. I'm so sorry, Vivi.
That was close though.
That was close, but I'm level 4. Actually had 5 on the board, I'll be honest.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Oh, look at this shit. Oh my god, what is this shit?
This is a waste of my time.
Alright, who wants to get on there? Boom. Oh, and then I can put another boom. Boom. I'll be right back. I need to piss like a motherfucker. Be right back.
All right.
I hate this fuck.
This one is yours.
Yes.
I am black.
Welcome back.
Oh no.
Oh man.
Who's the bastard? Oh, hot Doppler. Okay. Guess that doesn't count. He's a nice guy. Let's go, let's go, let's go. Come on, guys. You got this. Thrash, you piece of shit. Alright, you got this, you got this, you got this, you got this, you got this. Easy. Yeah, get fucked.
The cold does not forgive.
I don't know what to get. I don't know what to do.
Mm-hmm. Wait, is this what? Yeah, I guess this is a good ad. Oh, Jesus, calm down, please. Hmm. Come on. No, we lost this one. That's okay. Expected. This is. I'm saving gold. I'm saving gold. What do you want from me? That's my. I mean, what do you want? I'm saving gold. I can sell him. Do this. Sell this freak. Sell that freak. Sell that one and that one. Level up. And Braum. Should probably start putting some items on my guys. Yeah.
Sometimes it helps.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
Sometimes. Yeah. But it's okay. You have 0 gold. 63. Are you okay, bro? Oh, then they blasted me.
Like baby ram.
not really. They didn't really blast me, but you know. Let's do this. Huh.
This is a waste of my time.
Damn. Alright, stop digging me, Poro. Speedy Poro.
Damn, that redemption really fucked me.
It's like they want me to win or something. I feel like that's what they want.
Hmm.
It's like they want me to. I don't know. Okay. One more hero. Okay, how about fuck yeah. Oh, that's another. Okay.
Though many try.
Well, the hello.
I have not seen it in a second, so I kind of wish I hadn't bothered to.
Who am I fighting? Oh, hey.
Alright.
Sorry. Sorry. I mean, you didn't lose too much. I mean, let's be honest here. Ooh. Okay, 2 oceans. I like it.
The dark should fear me.
Now this I like.
Boom.
Okay, that hurt.
Come on, boys. Nope. Fuck you, Blacksmithery.
Gold does not forgive.
I mean, he is number 1, but fuck him. Oh shit. Oh shit. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Wait. I think this. God damn. Did I. Fucking Christ, I'm retarded. I didn't know who I was.
I don't know what to grab. I still think I grabbed the right thing.
Wait a minute.
I don't know.
Shit, no. Yep. That's not what I.
When going gets tough, you call draw.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Hmm. Where we go? Oh. Who just got leveled up? I don't know. I think it was Nautilus. It was. Okay. How about we do this? Because I kind of want that item.
From out of the sewers comes doom.
To
I don't know what I did. Just did it. Let's see.
please stop hurting my Ezreal. Oh god, they're hurting him. Everyone's hurt. Everyone's so hurt right now. Oh no,
Yeah.
I lost. And I lost.
Alright, damn.
Yeah, 8th place. That's not good. Hey, you guys are pretty close to losing too.
Yeah, 1 point.
Alright,
Woohoo.
but not this time.
Should have just spent the rest of my gold. Also, I got like unlucky as fuck. Oh, where'd you go? You stay there. Alright, thanks for the stream, guys. Thanks for watching, and I'm gonna end it for now.